What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Hey, it's Jimmy Akito, and we're episode 52 of Comic Beat Insider, the Zoom pandemic podcast that Heidi McDonald and I started a year ago. Just had our year anniversary, covering films, TV,
Congratulations.
comics, whatever. Yeah, for sure. And as I said, I'm Jimmy Akito with the podcast Comic News Insider, the weekly podcast covering comics, TV, film, and pop culture.
And I'm Heidi McDonald. I am the editor in chief of The Beat at comicsbeat.com.
And I'm Edie Nugent, freelance writer and very proud many years staff writer at The Beat.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yay.
this week was my pick, and since we had our year anniversary, we talked about a bunch of stuff we watched over the year. I thought like let's just talk about things we finally sort of caught up on, hadn't seen over the past few years, maybe more things that maybe got us through lockdown, just a bunch of stuff. And I figured, you know, a lot of it for me was the past few years. I just had missed certain films or TV shows,
How is
whatever.
that possible, Jimmy? You've
I
seen
know.
everything.
It's true. I have and I have. Well, as we know, I have and I haven't.
Hmm.
So I've probably seen more than your average bear, but I've also missed some like really big films. I'm like, I should have seen that, but now I have. So there you go. So that's sort of the idea, and you guys have plenty as well, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, it's definitely I mean, it will come to no surprise as people who know me that I have to catch up on almost everything,
Hmm.
especially sitcoms. I just don't watch
Yeah.
sitcoms anymore. And so but I did, the COVID-19, a worldwide pandemic has driven me to Netflix and yeah, I caught up
Yes.
on quite a few things. So,
Yeah. A lot of
but
mine
not
were
as many as I
films.
should have. I'll say that.
Right.
There's still
Yeah.
wide swaths.
Well, the first few months definitely I caught up because no one was working, but then I went back to work in July
Mm.
last year. So, but in that 3 months, a lot of 2019, 2018 films I hadn't seen. How about you, Edie? You catch up a lot of stuff?
I did, a lot of my stuff was television.
Hmm.
A lot of it was television, but I started a movie project with my family that I will
Oh,
go
nice.
into a little more detail
Mm.
on when we
Excellent.
start talking about it. But other than that, mostly TV catch ups.
Okay. I did just get sent a breakdown by a friend for an audition. I haven't auditioned in years and worked in acting ages. Looking for an older Asian male. I'm like, maybe. We'll see. It pays really well too. And I'm like, I don't know. We'll see
Ooh.
if I come out of retirement or not. I'm acting like they cast me already, but yeah. So I'm just gonna start off with a few here that I've seen the past like that were like 2019 films. I finally saw Shazam. I'd never seen it. The Zachary
Oh
Levi one. Did you guys see it?
yeah. Yes.
It's super fun. It's
Yes.
really cool.
So here begins my tale.
Hmm.
One thing that I complain about all the time over the past year is HBO Max. And I was actually going to watch Shazam and some other films that I know Jimmy's going to talk about. And even though Shazam is owned by Warner Brothers and supposedly it is
Yeah.
the home of all things DCEU,
Mhm.
they removed it.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy. Think about that.
and I had the chance I had the chance to see it at a special screening at
Oh,
WonderCon two
nice.
years ago, but I didn't go. I had something
Yeah.
dinner plans. I had a chance to see it many times. I've just never seen Shazam. So but go ahead and talk. I know everybody likes it and
Zach invited me over, so I watched it at his place. I'm just
mm,
kidding.
Oh
No,
wow.
no, no. So the idea this week, I said we normally go into a very deep dive. You know me, Mr. Research. I go heavily, but this week it's just chill. It's like I didn't rewatch anything. I just sort of like going on memory. I maybe looked up a couple things on it, but I'm like, eh. I just remember seeing this and I was like delighted by it. And Zach Levi's great. It's got a great cast. I had a big nerd moment when they all turned into the Shazam family. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! They look great," and that was really cool. But they went for. I know DC's been in, maybe not publicly trying to copy the success of the Marvel films with a little more humor in it, and this was that type of film. I think it
mm.
had. I don't want to say it had a Marvel feel to it, but it definitely had a lot more humor to it, and a lot. It was very much more lighthearted and sort of just laid back, chill superhero film. What do you think, Edie?
Yeah. No, it was great. I mean, it was. I think that the kind of the Nolan craze, and I think in the like bid for legitimacy that we see in like the early Spider-Man and X-Men
Hmm.
movies to a degree, and then also in the whole like Nolan Batman, it's like, wait, I mean, it's comics, but like also it's like really serious and like it can
Yeah.
be gritty and
Mm.
you know, just you see a lot of media sort of taking itself too seriously when it shouldn't, like, you know, the end of that first Raimi Spider-Man where he's like walking off on the hillside like, this is my curse, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not the right tone at all.
Right.
But you know, so it was so pleasant to see a movie that was just like reveling in being like light and fun
Yeah.
and, you know, silly. I mean, I think we
Yeah.
need a lot more of that
I
in our
look
comic
forward to more. I
stuff.
definitely look
Yeah.
forward to the next ones.
So
So why don't you go next, Heidi? Yeah.
well, I'll throw in just, finishing up
Okay.
the Shazam conversation. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been following all the tell-alls about Justice League. It's like everyone is spilling their guts now. And screenwriter Chris Terrio, who wrote Argo, which he won an Oscar
Yeah.
for, and then Batman v Superman, and then Justice League did a huge tell-all with Vanity Fair. And it just sounds like Warner's execs were just, they just don't get it. And they wanted, they
Dicks.
saw the Nolan films were wildly successful and super dark. So they went super dark with the Justice League stuff. But it just, based on all this, I just do think that the Shazam sort of lightheartedness, as I've heard, hopefully someday I'll get to see the film, I think they were just a little bit more able to handle that. Let's put it that way. So I probably, that's everybody seems to like this movie. So good on them.
Yeah. Well, interesting, just real quick about that. There's an article in Hollywood Reporter with Ray Fisher.
Oh,
We all know
yes.
Ray Fisher's what's going on with him. It's horrible, of course, the things he went through and a lot of the cast went through. But there was something that really stuck out to me. That's not as big of a deal, but it really annoyed me. Where I think one of the producers is telling Ray, "What if the kid of the CEO of AT&T wants you to say booyah?" I'm like, the fucking kid of the CEO should have zero say in a film. I'm sorry. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, if that's what's happening in Hollywood, probably, where the kid is some, or some CEO, that's what I want, and I run the company. That is fucking bullshit. That infuriated me. Not as much as what infuriated me what happened to Ray, obviously, but still, I was like, are you kidding me? I wouldn't be surprised if that's true.
I wouldn't either, because Terrio kind of backs it up in his interview. And he mentions, obviously he's telling his side of the story, but he mentions that he spent a lot of time with Ray Fisher, and that Fisher came over to his apartment and they went for long walks in the streets of New York talking about Cyborg and how to make the character work. And Joss Whedon did not do that. He was like, "Thank you for saying booyah."
Yeah, exactly.
It's just really gross.
Ridiculous.
It's just really gross.
Yeah.
But anyway,
next up.
Was not, he had no black characters, so it was more successful.
That was the only thing that was a little above. Like, it was a very white movie, but yeah.
So I'll go next. I'll be the first to admit, like, I still have wide swaths of things that I haven't caught up with, and I watch my wrestling, but I've realized that I really need to widen my horizons and watch stuff. So I have a still from Godzilla versus Kong. I always want to say it the other way around, but behind me. And one thing I did try to catch up with was the MonsterVerse. So I watched Skull Island, which I hadn't seen before. And everybody loves this movie, right?
Yeah,
and
I like it.
I had, or really has warm feelings about it. And I had watched a couple minutes of it because they play it incessantly. And I was sort of like, this is a dumb movie. But then I was like, you know what? Because I'm going to go see Kong, or Godzilla v Kong. I better go watch this. And you know what? It's a very fun movie.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of impressed by how Legendary, which is also with Warner Brothers, has done their MonsterVerse. And they actually, I think, pulled it off pretty well. Now, I'm not a fan of 2014's Godzilla film, the Gareth Edwards one. I just, I wasn't a big fan of Godzilla in there, and just some of the storytelling. And Skull Island, it's got Samuel L. Jackson as a hard-boiled lieutenant, and it's set in the 70s, which is so cool because they have contemporary music. And guess what? There's a group of people going to Skull Island to see what's up. And what is up is that it's full of monsters, including King Kong. And mayhem and body ripping ensue, and it's also got Captain Marvel in it and Tom Hiddleston, so it hits all the right notes. So what is not to love?
If it's got hiddle bumps, it's good.
Yeah. But I will say, so after that, the Godzilla King of the Monsters came out, which I really loved this movie just because it was visually so stunning, and everyone else hated it. I think I'm the only person who liked this movie. And then they bought it, but all these movies had these little, you know, mid-credit scenes and
Mhm.
plans for the next movie. They did it really well. And then in Godzilla v Kong, they kind of bought it all together. You know, the humans are super not. Have you guys seen Godzilla v Kong?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really
And
fun. Really
have
fun.
you seen it, Edie?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Well, no
Go ahead and watch it.
spoilers,
We'll wait.
but
Okay,
yeah,
I'll be right
there's
back.
a fight between the monsters. But I'll say this, it's
What?
like
Oh,
they are
God
like the
damn it.
people making this are so clearly on King Kong's side.
Oh, yeah.
They love the monkey. They love the giant ape.
Yeah.
And
Godzilla is definitely kind of the best. I mean, they
he's got
mentioned a
little
couple of
beady
times.
eyes.
They mentioned a couple of times, like, he helped us before. Something must be wrong. It's not his fault. So they tried to set it up that way, but still, it was definitely like, it was definitely Kong. And I was like, I love both of them. I don't know. But it's like, yeah, but I thought it was just visually stunning. CGI was great. It's just silly and fun.
Yeah,
It was like really
that's
good.
just what we need, and it's
Mhm.
doing quite well at the box office. I actually
Yeah,
went
which
and
is
saw
awesome.
it in a theater at a
Oh,
screening, which I
really? I'd
mentioned.
kind of like to
Yeah,
see it on a big
yeah,
screen.
there was an
Yeah.
IMAX screening, and it had only 20 people allowed in the theater. And I felt that it's a big giant IMAX theater, and just COVID. It's turning out that ventilation is absolutely one of the keys to this and the
Mhm.
spread of it. And if a place is well ventilated indoors,
Yeah.
obviously I double masked, but
Yeah.
I felt the risk was quite low, and
Yeah.
did okay. And it was,
Right on.
but I was like, oh, I'm seeing a movie on the screen. It
That's
was
great.
I
Yeah.
did perhaps a little bit of moisture came
Yeah, I
out.
Mhm.
probably would have probably would have been like, oh my God, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Edie, how about you? What's your first pick?
Well, the first thing that I remember watching and getting super into when quarantine started was Fosse Verdon
Oh my
on
God.
So good.
FX.
So good. Yeah.
I knew you'd appreciate that, Jimmy, because of your
Yeah. Yeah.
theater background. Jazz hands,
Yeah.
yes. Uh,
It's three,
so
two.
yes. So for those who don't know, Fosse is Bob Fosse, and Gwen Verdon was his partner, both romantically. They were married, and creative partner. And he wouldn't be who he was without her.
Nope.
And we have Michelle Williams and Sam Rockwell starring in this, and it was on FX, and you can watch it now on Hulu. And I was so obsessed with it. I watched the first episode by myself because I couldn't get it together to get um, Simon, my husband, and my mom, who was living with me at the time, because she was between apartments and it was quarantine, so she had to move in here, which was interesting. But I watched it alone, and I was like, "This is so exquisite! I can't keep watching this without everyone else joining me." So we watched it
Michelle
again.
Williams was amazing. My God.
I mean, it's so moving, it's so well acted, it's so well directed. It's just like, even if you don't know anything about Broadway at all, you will get a lot out of this show. It's just, telling a story of two people over decades, and it's just genius. So
Yeah, it's a fine line with actors where anytime they do a real life person character and they impersonate them, people are like, oh, what a brilliant job. Well, they're just impersonating the person. Did they act it also? Michelle, like I wish, in
yeah.
my opinion, in The Crown, she was fine, but she did a great impression of Margaret Thatcher. I don't think she should have won all these awards.
Oh,
You
I
know,
see what you're saying. Mhm.
but Michelle Williams was great at acted the shit out of this.
I'm
Besides
just
Oh,
I'm
a
just
great
sick of the
impression.
Crown winning everything. People are so
It's
impressed
so
by a
good though.
British
It's so
accent. I
fun.
know,
Yeah.
but it's also like people are so impressed by a British accent.
Well, it's because it's
that's
just
true.
superior.
Well, I mean, speaking of accents, like Gwen Verdon had a famously kind of strange voice, and
Yeah.
she spoke oddly.
Yeah.
And Michelle Williams nails it. She's
Yeah.
incredibly emotional. It's kind of hard to even notice what Sam Rockwell's doing because she's so
Yeah.
blindingly
Absolutely.
brilliant. But
Totally.
he does a great job. But and he just lets her, he doesn't scene steal. He lets her just be
I could have just
incredible.
watched the Verdon story. You know
Sam
what I mean?
Rockwell
Yeah.
is really an actor who melts into his roles. He's so
Yeah.
nondescript when you see him because
Yeah.
he's around all the time. Like I'm always seeing like people be,
Mhm.
oh look, it's Sam Rockwell. I'm like, who, that guy? I mean, he really just like disappears into his roles. I feel like
It's
Nice.
it's amazing. And then after we finished that, we watched All That Jazz
Ugh.
as like
Nice.
a bookend, and I had actually never seen All That Jazz.
What?
So yeah. So that was an experience.
So I'll say, well, also all that jazz is a lot of people, let's say a lot, but like, it's my stepfather's favorite movie. My stepfather's a screenwriter. And one time I asked Neil Gaiman, what's your favorite movie? And he says, I think all that jazz. So I think it does speak to a lot of people. I mean, it's a masterpiece. I think I do think it's one of the essential films, like on the top 100 films. It would be on there just because it's so much about performing, about failing, about music. I don't know. What'd you think, Edie?
Oh, I was blown away by it. I was amazed that, I've been hearing about this movie all these years. It's such a famous film. It was a blind spot, in my, creative education, shall we say. And even after seeing them talk about it on Fosse Verdon and then watching it, because of course they cover the All That Jazz period on that TV show, it still really just blew me away. It was an incredible piece of work.
Nice.
I think, Jimmy, you've seen it, of course.
Yeah, I mean, like,
you've lived it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, kind of. So I sort of kind of broke down my list, not really categories, but they're sort of like the nerdy, superhero-y, cartoony side of it to like more serious. Even have like some foreign films, and I have like some other stuff. So this is sort of still in that nerdy realm. And I know Heidi's seen this and loved it. Detective Pikachu came out 2019. This was so ridiculously fun. Like, I came to Pokemon late when I was doing The King and I, and we had a whole cast of dancers that were Japanese, and they would watch it every day. And I was like, what do they watch? I want to hang out with the cute Japanese girls. And I love cartoons anyway. And I'm like, oh, I've heard of this. And I got hooked. And I loved it. And then sort of fell out of it. And so I've always been very familiar with the world. And when this came out, this looks interesting. Looks kind of weird and silly, but it's really good. It's really, Ryan Reynolds as the voice is hilarious. I mean, Justice Smith is in it, Ken Watanabe, Bill Nighy's in it. It's a great cast. It's just bang out crazy. There's like Pokemon, like the Mr. Mime scene is hilarious. It's really fun. I know you saw it, Heidi.
Yeah, I saw it again in the theater.
Yeah.
And again, I did love it. I mean, it is sort of, G-rated Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah,
just so good. There's a lot of rumors that he's a total diva and hard to work with. I'm just
really?
Like, I just won't.
I find that hard to believe.
I won't believe it. I won't believe it. He is so nice. Okay, he's Canadian.
Yeah, I don't think he's hard to work. I think we would have heard more of that.
I think so, but he is definitely just so good at it. And Justice Smith, really great foil for him. And of course, as a Pokemon Go player, so many in jokes, but just visually, it was a really fun movie. And I, again, was going to rewatch it last night on HBO Max and discovered that they had removed it from HBO Max because even though it is a Warner Brothers movie, because why? And, again, HBO Max, I went on Twitter, I went on Google and Googled what has been removed from Disney Plus. And it's literally a joke page. There's nothing. They do not remove things.
Wow.
Right.
All right.
Unless it's Lady and the Tramp and Jungle Book and things that have very problematic content. They've removed a lot of those, but
just an HBO Max is no longer a sponsor of the podcast.
I mean, just they Disney masterminded the idea of false scarcity. If you recall, their
going into the vaults.
Yes, we've got, and they had their, gold standard of the classic animated films, and they would release them like once every, 10 years in the theaters. And even with the DVDs or pardon, I guess it was Laserdisc then, or VHS, whatever they released it on, it would be for a limited time only. So you'd be like, oh shit, I got to get this Fantasia. They're never going to release it again. So they were masters at it, absolute masters. So, HBO Max is trying to do the same thing that Disney did, except streaming doesn't work the way physical releases do. Just a word, John Stanky. So give me back my Detective Pikachu.
That's right.
I've not seen it, and I really would like to.
It's really fun. Yeah, it's really just like to see the CGI and like the world it's like the real Pokemon world where like Pokemon are just around
Mm-hmm.
and they're kind of hanging out. But I always the only thing that bothered me, and I wrote a sketch about it like in our CNI 200 episode, I think. And my friend was the voice of Ash for 8 years in the
Oh,
American
yes.
thing, Veronica Taylor. So I had her do it with me, where I called the name of the sketch was Pet P, People for the Ethical Treatment of Pokemon. I'm like, you capture these wild animals, put them in a little ball, and then throw them out to fight. Come on.
Bad.
Not cool. Not
Yeah,
cool.
it's
No
bad.
matter how much you train them and they become your buddy. I'm like, I don't know.
It's Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah,
They're your
exactly.
buddy.
Yeah, Pikachu, he definitely has Stockholm syndrome with Ash for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've thought about that too.
Yeah.
Keeping them in the little balls. And,
Yeah.
no, it's not right. It's
But
not
but
right.
but the movie's very funny. Like I said, that Mr. Mime scene is fucking
It's
hilarious. My God,
fantastic.
it's so good. And just Ryan Reynolds is funny. It's just hearing his voice is great.
Yeah.
What do you got next?
Okay, let's see. Well, I'm trying to stay maybe a little bit in this things that I caught up on. See, I didn't write things down. I should have because I can't remember anything. Well, we'll have to shift to sitcoms because
Yeah.
I haven't watched. So, okay, something I caught up on. I realized that on the CW they show episodes of Barney Miller
Oh
every
wow.
Saturday night. And my stepfather, the screenwriter, actually wrote an episode of Barney Miller. And
Excellent.
the show's from the 70s. I'm dating myself, but man, I love this show. It's so amazing still. And Jack Sue's Yamada is so good.
Mhm.
Just all the characters are so finely drawn. So I know we're in the golden era of sitcoms, but this is the one thing that I'm an old fart about. It's not, movies today are not as good, or music. I can't listen to that music. I don't do that. The only thing I do is sitcoms because once you've seen a sitcom, you've seen all the sitcoms. Like it's always the same thing, like somebody's misunderstood or the bad relative has gone and thrown the valuable ring down the garbage disposal and they got to figure it out before mom comes home. It's all these sitcom things anyway. So I don't know why it just glazes. However, I said, I've got to be more contemporary. I've got to try to keep up with the kids. So they say, wow, that's what Leslie Knope would do. I'm like, who's Leslie? Oh, it's Parks
Oh
and Rec.
no.
Parks and Rec.
Oh
Holy
wow.
shit. Right?
Wow,
And
you
yeah,
need to
I've
keep
only seen
up.
one episode of Parks and Rec, and apparently I have to see every episode, I guess. But
It's so
You
good.
can skip the first season actually in good
well,
conscience.
I think that might be one of my problems because every once in a while I sit down to watch one of these and the first season isn't as good and I lose interest.
Yeah.
So, but I decided I had to watch Schitt's Creek.
Yes. That you should definitely watch
Right,
all of.
because I love Catherine O'Hara. She's one of my absolute all-time MVPs. I love Eugene Levy. It has all the things that I love. So I've only watched like the first season of Schitt's Creek and it has Chris Elliott in it and obviously Daniel Levy and then I don't remember the name of the daughter, but it's very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Annie Murphy is the daughter.
Yeah. And, just the idea of people living in a hotel or a motel, pardon me, in a small town in upstate New York, I guess, just, I've lived that pretty much. So, yeah, it's great. Now, the one thing, so this is the one thing that's weird about it is, so I only know the show from them winning awards every time and Daniel Levy getting up and talking and being so obviously, he's super gay. And so on the show, at first they're kind of like he's not gay. And I mean, so I was just like, maybe there was him and the girl who runs the motel, are they having a thing? And I was like, oh, are they good? And then they did address that he is pansexual. So, because at first I was just like, just come out. Although you don't have to say anything. So That was the one thing. But yeah, it's brilliant. It's absolutely
The first
brilliant.
season is the weakest season.
I'm sure. I have actually continued watching it.
Good. Because I started watching Schitt's Creek back when I feel like I don't want to sound like, oh, when no one else was watching it, but I feel like I knew one other person that watched it. And I just was like, I need something funny, I want something that I don't have to wait to watch with my husband, my stepdaughter, I can just watch it on my own. And I remember that by the time I got to, I guess it was season 3 or 4, towards the end, there was this episode and I'm sitting in my bedroom watching it on a laptop and I'm just crying, like tears are just like running down my face. And I was like, when did I start caring about this show so much? Like, it just like crept up on me. And I mean, I love all those folks. I mean, anything with Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara is just like a must watch. But yeah, it kind of sneaks up on you, that show. Now that everyone talks about how great it is, I feel like it's tough to have that experience. But if you just sort of encounter it as like a fun thing, it's like amazing how it sort of sneakily becomes something that's really talks a lot about the human condition.
And of course,
so many of my friends had watched it when it started, and you got to watch. I'm like, I will, and I just never got around to it. I still haven't, and now it's wildly popular. Everyone knows about it, and I'm like, I still will. It's on the list. It's on the queue, as they say. But yeah, I'll get to it hopefully.
Just seeing as we're talking about sitcoms, another show that we watched because it's on. I mean, I'm fascinated by the stations like Tubi and Pluto that just show all these really bizarre shows that you forgot existed. But well, me and my neighbor, we've been kind of quarantining together, and I hang out at her place. We watch TV, and then we started watching the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And boy, if you want to time capsule of women and society and interior decoration, it is absolutely riveting. Just watching how because it was about an empowered woman and she was single and spunky and it was mind bending and hilarious. I mean, Cloris Leachman, oh, so good.
Yeah, it's a great show.
All right. Edie.
Okay, so let's see what's next on my list. Okay, I guess I'll talk about the big film watch project. So my stepdaughter started organizing our DVDs. So we got rid of all of our DVDs at one point, meaning we just kept the discs and put them in like these big organizers just to like free up shelf space. And she decided to go through one day in a fit of what I can only describe as like COVID panic, and alphabetize our entire DVD collection.
Wow.
Which is my collection and Simon's collection merged. And like, it was I don't know how many DVDs there are in there, but there are a lot. It was a huge amount of work. She spent like 6 hours on it one day. She was like passing out halfway through. But she did it. And then she decided, after putting all this effort in, that she wanted to do a project, which was to watch all of the movies from A to Z.
Oh my God. Wow.
And she said, because we would go through and we'd look at stuff and she'd be like, we're going to watch them. And I was like, oh boy, we're going to watch all of the movies that we've ever bought DVDs of. And she was like, yes. And I said, well, what if it's like not a great movie and we just like have a DVD of it for some reason, which happens. And she said, well, listen, if you don't, she was like very authoritarian. She was like, if you don't want to watch it through or we think it sucks, we're throwing the DVD away. And I was like,
right
okay.
on.
All right.
Sure.
So we were like, okay. And I just have a list here of the ones that we've watched. Let's see, did I just lose it? No, here we go. So we watched just like the variety that this induces, because you're just watching stuff.
Before you start, yes. What letter are you up to?
What Simon?
Yeah.
What letter are we up to? He's over
like B.
here. Do you remember what was the C? We're on C.
Wow.
Now I will say that Gabby's with us half the time and with her mom the other half. So like we have kind of like a month on, month off thing.
Yes, fair enough.
Do you remember the last thing we watched?
Callum? Or was it one after that?
Oh God, I don't know. There was a French movie that I kind of tuned out during. I don't remember what was before that, but
C'est la vie.
anyway,
That's what it was.
but like the first one was Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Ah, that's a great
The
one.
second one was The African Queen.
Yes, my
Wow.
favorite movie.
It's
That's
so
my
good.
favorite movie.
It's so good.
I have seen that. Had you seen it before?
Yes, I had seen it.
Yeah,
before.
I like growing up. That was my absolute favorite movie.
Hmm.
I love
You
everything.
can't watch it enough times.
Oh, you
in my
can't because and
opinion.
I think it just holds up.
It does.
Like just a quality. That's what I thought all relationships should be like. You know, like totally quality. The man listens to the woman when he realizes she's right.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes,
then
he does.
they become partners. You know, they squabble, but then they're like, we are partners and we're going to do this together. And I thought that's how I thought that's how
Yeah.
life was going to be all the way.
Yeah. So it's Humphrey Bogart, Katharine Hepburn,
Directed by John Huston.
And it's the filming, the cinematography is amazing. You get to really see,
It's beautiful.
The river that they travel down, and it's just a wonderful like journey movie. But I mean, just to go from like, Munchausen to African Queen, then Against All Odds, which I have because I like weirdly like it. And then Age of Consent and Airheads.
Wow.
So that's just like a sampling of like where we bounce back and forth. But we got to see things. We got to introduce my stepdaughter to like The Big Lebowski, which she'd never seen, was in there. So it's been a real discovery, and we've only thrown out one DVD so far. We even watched Airheads and we decided to keep it. It's like a weirdly sweet little movie. I don't even think that was my disc. I think that was an ex of mine's disc, but we kept it.
Listen, don't be ashamed. Own up to it. All right.
It wasn't me. I'd never seen it before. So it was like, it was exciting to see. No, it's fun. It's an early 90s time capsule. So if you're ever in the mood for like a kind of pre-Empire Records sort of like caper comedy, it is a good one. It's fun to watch and be like, wow, the music business is not at all like this anymore. And it's only like 1991. But the one we threw away was The American with George Clooney.
I haven't seen it.
It is.
I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
It was so bad. Like we were ready. We were like, George Clooney, Italy. Yeah. And it's beautiful. You see beautiful shots of Italy, but it is boring and slow and nothing happens. And like, who cares?
Oh, it's directed by Anton Corbijn, who is the photographer most famous for his work with U2 and Depeche Mode in the 80s and 90s. Like he was U2's officially.
That's why George started singing. That was weird.
Yes, and but yeah, he took all those dark. I mean, he's a great photographer. I think he directed. I just looked it up. I do not remember. I've never seen this movie, and thanks to Edie, never.
No, don't waste your time. Or you can just like put it on mute and enjoy looking at George Clooney and Italy photographed well, and like put on an album, do like a Dark Side of the Rainbow thing.
It's all right. Cool. That sounds.
So that's really great, and we're having a lot of fun with that.
So I'm gonna rattle through a few just from the last year, couple of years here. So and I'll briefly talk about them. So the Hellboy 2019 with David Harbour and Daniel Day Kim, Ian McShane, Mila Jovovich. I don't know why. I mean, I wanted to see more Ron Perlman, sure, but I was fine with this. I thought it was good, and I don't understand why it got so much hate and didn't do as well. It was stunning, beautiful to look at. I thought David Harbour was a great Hellboy. I really liked it. Jumanji 2, The Next Level. I didn't see in theaters. Those movies are so damn fun. They clearly have so much fun shooting those. I can watch Karen Gillan read the phone book, but it's just like
she's wonderful in that too. She gets to show her comedic chops off.
Yeah, she's really funny.
Great. Yeah.
Follow her on Instagram. She's really funny. She's really funny. This is another one that sort of just I was like, I'll check it out. Dora and the Lost City of Gold came out.
Oh my God.
This is it's like a little sweet, clean little Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, Indiana Jones type adventure she has. And they totally break the fourth wall, just like in the cartoon, for comedic effect, where she turns to the camera and she's like, right? They're like, who are you talking to? it's so funny. Michael Pena's in it, Eva Longoria, but the young girl that plays Dora, Isabel Moner, is really great. And finally watched Bumblebee 2018 with Haley Steinfeld and John Cena. The Transformers film was awesome. Like Haley's great. I love her and everything. So um yeah, I was just sort of the past like 2018, 2019, 2017. I'd randomly missed these little films, and somehow like Fighting with My Family, which I think Heidi probably saw a lot, based on the true story of the WWE wrestler Paige, Florence Pugh, who I've always loved, and she's already getting nominations. That's right. She's gonna be a giant, like spoken of in the same way you speak of like Helen Mirren in years to come, I'm sure.
And soon to be seen in Black Widow if they ever
Yes.
release it.
Yeah, she
So,
looks great.
yeah.
So out of those, you guys saw a bunch of those? Yeah.
Uh,
Enjoyed. Did you
well,
see Fighting with My Family,
of
Heidi?
course, of
I was
course
gonna
I
say you
did
must
because
have.
of my wrestling obsession.
Did
That
you
was
see the
actually,
original documentary too?
I did
It's
not.
really good. It's on YouTube. It's really
Well,
good.
unfortunately, and the movie is delightful, and it's,
Very fun.
a nice little buildings Roman
Yeah.
about wrestling, professional wrestling, which, we rarely see. And of course, done with the WWE. So they
Mhm.
were pretty
Yeah.
complimentary towards them. Just very, very typical story of,
Mhm.
oh, I got the call to go to the camp, and then there's Mean Girls, but turns out they're actually okay. It's pretty predictable. Unfortunately, in real life, that whole family has been riddled with scandal since then.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Paige
So,
herself had some, but she also had a big injury, and she had some,
yeah, but over the summer there was a huge Me Too movement in pro wrestling, and her family, Paige's family, was caught up in it, and a lot of
Oh, really?
it's horrible. British
See how to
wrestling
keep up with
turned
them.
out to be riddled with harassment and abuse. But it's a very charming movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But yeah, like I think probably out of all those, I think just yeah, I really liked all of them. That's why I put them on the list there. That they're really fun, and yeah, another separate list of things. But go ahead, Heidi, go ahead with yours.
Okay, well, speaking of wrestling, just I'll throw this in here. I'm not proud of this. No, not proud. But that is the one thing that I watch all the time because I like things that are live. This is how my mind works. So, and I accept it. I do not fight it. But I watch Raw on Monday nights, and then they were always doing promos for Ms. and Mrs. And so I watched Ms. and Mrs. Now, previously, long ago, episodes of uh Comic News Insider, I've confessed that WWE Total Divas was a guilty pleasure of mine,
Hmm.
and I just couldn't stop watching Ms. and Mrs. And normally I hate these, like, real family reality shows, anything vaguely Kardashian, or
Hmm.
all the what's it,
You
Blivney
watch
Knows
the
Best.
Bellas or whatever. The
Yeah, well, the Bellas, anything with wrestling I can watch because to
oh,
me
okay, I
it's
see.
so much, like, I guess this is just a childhood fetish of mine to see what it's like in real life for pro wrestlers because it's so fake and phony. So, and you know what? Miz and Mrs. is very, very harmless. The Miz is probably the greatest reality star of all times. He was on Big Brother, oh no,
No, no, the real world.
The
Yeah.
Real World, but he was on another one too. He was on, like, after that, he was on a whole bunch of other.
Well, they're all the MTV ones. They were like the
Yes,
challenge.
he
That
was a
was what it was. Yeah,
recurring
yeah.
character on all the MTV ones. Then he was on Tough Enough, and then he, became a wrestler, and he's just, a total performer. So, but
Hmm.
but they come off. It's so fake. I just don't see how people pretend that any of these shows have anything to do with reality. But
People
anyway,
do.
there we
People
are.
like an escape.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
like,
they do.
and it's like it's, people sit and they're like, well, what are we going to do for this episode? It's like, well, we're
Mhm.
going to get a giant cheese wheel, and then the Miz is going to foolishly put it on the barbecue and set it on fire.
Yeah,
And, like, not that this really happened, but I
right.
mean, I don't
Well,
know.
this is something brilliant about the Miz, and I don't follow wrestling, you know that, but it's like I did for way too long watch the Real World, and I watched his season when it came on, and he's had this character since he was like a
Hmm.
kid, and he talked about it constantly on the Real World, and even the very last shot, because he's the last one to leave the house, is him. He'd always reenact, and the Miz is gonna do this and that, and I was like, this guy thing isn't. Look what he became. He made it happen. Good. I mean, I'm sure being on the Real World, those reality shows helped him get his foot in the door a lot faster
Well,
What
than he would have.
season of Real World was
It
that?
was a New York one, I think.
yeah,
I
it
don't
was
remember what
one
season,
of
but it
the
was a New
early
York one. So
ones. It was
Wait,
one
the
of
not
first
too
New
early.
York
No,
one?
no, no, no,
no,
no.
it was the
This was
next.
it was like maybe 10 years ago,
Okay.
maybe
No, it was
less,
more than that. No,
maybe
it was
12.
way more than that. Yeah.
Because I'm gonna say I feel like I jumped off that train when they were in
Wisely so,
Vegas after
yeah.
the Vegas
Oh, that
season.
was, yeah.
That's
Oh.
like season 5 or something. It's a
Yeah.
long time ago.
World Back to New York was
Oh, it's a Back to New York.
20.
Okay.
Oh my God, 2001. You're right, Heidi. Holy shit. Wow, that was a long time ago.
Wow, I
2000.
2001.
missed that.
Jesus.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
I was in
yeah.
It was a
college.
10th
I
season. You're
I
right.
blame
Yeah.
being in college and all that comes with it
Yeah.
for my memory.
Yeah. All right. All right. All right. Edie, what else you got?
So what else do I have? Let's see. Um, yeah, so a series that I got super into and spread like a contagion was Casa de Papel, or known as Money Heists in the
Oh,
United
people.
States.
Oh, I've heard. Yeah, everyone's talking about it. People
Right.
love this
So
stuff.
like I
Yeah.
read this awesome article about streaming that I forget what it was in, if it was Esquire, Entertainment Weekly, but somebody did this big long form article about streaming and international streaming, and it was fascinating. And they were using Casa de Papel, Money Heist, as like the center because it was the biggest thing on Netflix internationally that like no one had heard of in the US. It hadn't caught on here. And they were talking about how beloved it was around the world. And I remember being like, I gotta check this out. Like the whole world is loving this and we're not watching it. And so finally, during quarantine, I said, listen, Simon, it's a heist. He loves heists. So I was like, it's a heist. Let's just watch it. And we got super into it. And then our stepdaughter came back to stay with us. We were coming to the end of season 1 and she's like, what are you watching? We're like, oh, it's this thing. Like you can watch it with us, or I don't know if you'll like it. And she got super, super into it. And then we were all like fiending for it. Like, my husband's not a binge watcher at all. And he was just like, can we keep watching it? Like he just couldn't
Nice.
put it down. It's amazing. Like everyone should check it out if you like heists. I mean, it's just really well filmed and plotted and written. It's so much fun. It's a little violent if some people don't like violence, but I mean, I think it's doable if you're not a violence person. It's
Right.
not like too much. And it's just great. Like just all the characters are wonderful. You really get into it. I think they're doing a final season of it coming up.
Okay.
Is
Excellent. Excellent.
happening.
Yeah, a
So.
lot
Yeah,
of
I've been hearing a lot of friends of mine talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we were gonna dress like a family as the characters from Casa de Papel because they wear these orange jumpsuits and like
Nice.
masks. And unfortunately, these dolly masks. So it's like a little Point Break in there. But unfortunately,
Nice.
quarantine, there really wasn't a Halloween. So
Yeah.
did not get to realize
Sorry,
that
go to do
during.
it online. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me read. Also, as you know, I've been turning into a Korea file the past couple of years, not just with
Oh
K-pop,
boy.
but also TV and film. So actually, being a big Snowpiercer fan, of course, I loved Parasite, but I hadn't really seen a ton of Bong Joon-ho's films. So they're all on Hulu, at least they were. So I started watching. So, well, Okja's on Netflix. I watch Okja, which isn't great. It's a great film. He's always has sort of a metaphor about the environment. It's about these like genetically altered pigs, and this young Korean girl's helping to raise it, and then the company comes back to claim them. Tilda Swinton's in it. Jake Gyllenhaal. It's this great cast. The young girl playing the lead, An So Yun, is great. Stephen Yun's in it. It's delightful and really great. He also, his other film from 2009, Mother. My God, if you haven't seen Mother, it's one of his best, and that's saying something for Bong Joon-ho. Uh, the actress who plays the mother, the titular mother, Kim Hye-ja, she gives the most incredible performance. It's about her son who's emotionally and mentally handicapped and accused of uh, a big crime. So she does everything in her power, a 70-something-year-old mother, to prove his innocence. And it's like, my her performance. She won tons of awards all over Asia, but also I think LA Film Critics gave her Best Actress that year, and all these other ones. It's an incredible performance, tour de force. Rampant, which is a great Korean zombie film set in the Joseon period. It's very similar to the series I love, Kingdom, the Korean zombie Joseon period series, Kingdom. It has some similarities to it, but they're still pretty different. So that's really fun. There was also, I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, Psychokinesis. Yun Sang Ho, who directed Train to Busan. It's this film about this father who's sort of absent father. His daughter owns like a food cart. gets in some money trouble. He sort of accidentally stumbles upon some formula and gets powers, and awkwardly uses them to fight the evil corporation. It's really fun, but it's also action packed and really cool. And then Persona I think it's still on Netflix. Came out in 2019. It's a TV series, 4 parts, and it stars Lee Ji-yoon, who's also known as IU, one of the most popular solo K-pop singers in the world, and also an actress. But it's 4 vignettes of her playing different parts. There's one great one where she sort of like revisits an old love. Um, uh, it sort of has a ghostly hint to it. Another where she is the daughter of this guy who's getting remarried. She doesn't want it to happen. Really great performance by her and everyone through. I think Bae Doon is in one of the scenes as well. Really great stuff. But there is some great stuff coming out from Korea, and the film industry is really booming the past few years, I think. So
Mm,
really good stuff to check out. For
definitely.
sure.
I'm gonna
For
check
sure.
out so much of that.
I know,
Actually,
it's
I
so
like.
good.
You're so right on to like just explore that oeuvre.
Yeah,
Mm,
I'm here for it.
so great, so
yeah,
great.
you're making me feel guilty. I
Mhm.
gotta catch up on all these movies.
Oh, so
Well,
good.
you can't live on wrestling alone. I have learned that. So again, this was, I think I might have mentioned this on a previous episode, but just to bring it up, again, with my neighbor makes me watch things because she knows what's good for me. But we watched Moana. It's
Oh,
Oh,
so good, so
yes,
good.
yes.
Um,
love it.
and my neighbor loves to sail, so
Mm.
that's why I picked it. I did not pick it because The Rock was in it, I swear.
He's
And so,
great.
and she loved it. It was actually, yeah, it's
Beautiful.
great. Great representation, great story, use of the mythology, the anime, it's incredible.
I've been
I feel
Just
like that
sailing
didn't
at the
get
edge
enough
of the
credit.
water
Crossover.
long as I can remember. Sorry, I love
Sorry, I
music.
interrupted your solo. My
The music is great.
apologies. I'm here for you singing Moana, Jimmy. But yeah, oh, and Alan Tudyk, by the way,
Mm.
is the chicken in
Oh
that.
yeah,
Just like
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
fun fact.
yeah,
But I feel like it didn't get enough crossover Disney love, that movie. Like if you had a kid around that time, you saw Moana and you knew how great it was. But like
yeah.
other than that, like I didn't hear people talking about it. And it's wonderful. Like it
It's
is a
great.
wonderful,
Like
wonderful movie. It has an
finding.
incredible message at the end
Yeah,
that
Mm,
doesn't beat you over the head with it, but the more you think about it, you're like, wow,
yeah.
yeah.
eh,
Finding that girl, Ali Cravalho, who plays Moana, and sort of
yes,
becoming a big star in her own right. She should. Like just so the behind the scenes stuff of how they found her is incredible, and
it's
like
adorable. I
she's
actually put
so
it in an
good.
article.
Oh,
An
Yeah.
she's
article I wrote
so
at one
good.
point on how she got that. It
Yeah,
was
it's so
incredible.
cute.
It's so cute. You can see the
Yeah.
tape where they tell
Yeah, when she
her.
finds out, yeah, it's so
Yes.
cute.
And also definitely after you watch Moana, Google her performance at the Oscars singing that
Yes.
song,
Oh, she's so
Mm,
good.
because there's a
She almost got
moment
hit in
where
the head, right?
she gets hit.
Yeah.
She does get hit in
Oh,
the
she does get
head.
hit. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And she's
By set
just
piece. Yeah.
keeps singing like
Keeps going.
nothing happened. And
Show
you're
must
like,
go on. Yeah. I've been standing at the edge of the water.
she's
It's like, oh
just
my
bright
God.
smile. She smiles
Yeah.
even brighter after she gets hit in the head.
She's
I'm
so
like,
cute.
geez,
Yeah.
give her all the
I
roles, please.
Yeah. And what was great about that is like before Raya and the Last Dragon, this was the first Disney film where I felt connected to like just, ethnically. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
Filipinos are
Yeah.
seafaring people and, like this, that. It's like, oh, it's sort of loosely related in a sense, island people. And it's just, yeah. So that felt like, oh,
Yeah.
I kind of see me on screen for the first time, except
That's
to
awesome,
Raya, where
Jimmy.
I definitely saw me in Raya. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, 'cause that's Southeast Asia for sure. But yeah, it's in the music's great. I mean, great voice cast we mentioned. Like The Rock is great. Your Welcome
yeah.
song is catchy as
He does a
fuck.
great
It's so
job.
fun.
Yeah, and Maui
Yeah.
is
He
such a
does
great
great.
character, obviously, based on
Lin-Manuel
mythology,
did the music. I mean, my God.
and his talking tattoos. Oh, it's all
Yeah.
just so imaginative, and
So good.
and just again beautiful. I mean, they really at Disney, they just really know how to make movies like craftsmanship still, and yeah, it's
Oh yeah.
delightful. I'm so glad I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so good, so
wonderful.
good. Edie, you got another? What do you got?
Yeah, I do. I do. So okay, what do we talk about next? So I had not seen really a lot. I'd seen sporadic episodes because this TV series came on back when you couldn't DVR. And I was a late teenager graduating high school and going into college. So I caught pieces of this, but never the whole thing. And then I saw the end. My husband was the opposite. He rented the DVDs later, saw all of the first part of this and didn't see the final 2 seasons. So since Mr. Simon Fraser and I relocated to New Jersey, we've taken on a rewatch of The Sopranos.
Oh my
And
God.
so it's kind of new because
Wow.
there's a bunch that neither of us have never seen. So it's catching up on like the show. He's seeing the end for the first time. Nobody say anything to him. Like you can say here, but like don't tweet at him. I swear I will break your legs. I've been watching a lot of Sopranos. I will break your legs. But it's watching that from the beginning. Realizing that I am Meadows Sopranos age. Like she is, we are the same age. It's weird. It really holds up. There's definitely, there's some, because they're, mafia North Jersey folk, there's a lot of sexism, violence against women, and racism in that show. So I will definitely kind of like content warning that comes up, especially with Tony. He is not so cool about in the latter season, gay people, and in the earlier seasons, Black people. He says a lot of like Italian slurs in there. But it's super well written, well acted, thoughtful stuff. I mean, it was the template for prestige television, really, that show.
Yeah.
And it really holds up. It's kind of wild. So it's been a joy to watch. And especially, when we got to the final couple of seasons and we saw somebody die on the street just down from where we moved. We were that's across the street from our bakery. The bakery's in the background.
Man.
Jersey City pride.
Nice. Yeah,
wearing the t-shirt. JC.
There's one scene that sticks out to me. I don't know why. I don't know what season, what episode. Many scenes stick out to me. But one I appreciate because I always hate when people wear a fucking hat in a restaurant. And there's a scene where they're in a restaurant, him and his like cook chef friend. And the chef friend's like, that fucking guy over there with his baseball cap up inside, pissing me off. Tony's like, yeah, it's fucking bullshit. And they keep going about it. So Tony stands up, intimidatingly goes to the guy like, you want to take your hat off? The guy's like surprisingly goes, take it off. And the guy reluctantly removes his ball cap, and then he sends him like this nice bottle of wine.
Yeah, it's
like, oh my God, absolutely. I need a Tony Soprano. Every time Tony wears a goddamn hat inside. It's like, come on, have some decorum, people.
It's great, and you get some wonderful cameos as well. Yeah. People pop up in that later went on to become.
It's completely like like I mean, it's Protean. I mean, that was the template for prestige television. The Sopranos and Mad Men, I suppose, were the two shows that just really kicked off.
Matthew Weiner cut his teeth on The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Which is something I didn't know. Yeah. I mean, maybe I knew it in the background, but I didn't actively know it until we did this rewatch and I started seeing his credit come up and he has little cameos in it. And I'm like, of course, Matthew Weiner.
And now then you put it all together.
Yeah.
Lineage of it. Yeah. I've never seen The Sopranos, but
Heidi.
I know, but this is one of those shows where it's talked about so incessantly that I feel like I have,
Yeah,
so I mean,
I haven't.
I know.
I have the same feeling, and going back, it's like it's a real journey. So
hopefully they have it on HBO Max.
They do. That's where we've been watching.
Okay.
It is on HBO Max.
Well, as long as they're not going to remove it, maybe I'll try.
We'll
I doubt it. That's one of their big flagships. So
bigger than Detective Pikachu. All right.
Yeah. If they took it off, I mean, like it's like when they moved Doctor Who off Netflix, they got like angry bags of mail. If they tried to move The Sopranos off HBO Max, there would be, they'd have
especially with the sequel series. Yeah, the sequel series coming, the Altos. So
yes, oh my God, I was looking at pictures of that. No, there's
it looks great.
It looks, I mean, it's the what's it called? It's the Altos. It's a movie. There's a movie they're making called what is it? The Many Saints of Newark. Thank you, off-camera husband, with James Gandolfini's son playing a young James Gandolfini.
That's great.
And
that's cool.
Can't wait.
Awesome. Let me rattle off a few quick ones again here. So the couple of zombie, I love zombies as well. So I'd never seen these. The Girl with All the Gifts from 2016.
Oh, it's so
So
good,
good, right?
Jimmy.
Directed by Cole McCarthy. There's Glenn Close is in it. Gemma Arterton. It's a sort of
Watch that if you haven't seen it. Just watch it.
British
Please.
post-apocalyptic sci-fi film where like zombies are the government's in control. They have kids that are zombies that are controlled in classes, but one is like the golden child, possibly the cure. It has the cure for everything. Just their approach to the whole zombie sort of genre is really interesting and unique, I think. And how it ends, ooh, yeah, really great. Love it. Yeah, really good stuff. And another zombie one. If you've ever seen Anna and the Apocalypse from 2017,
Mm.
No.
it was on YouTube first. Every word in the sentence I love how to describe it. It is a British Christmas zombie musical film. Every word I love.
Oh my God.
Every
It was
word I
made
love.
for Jimmy.
Yeah,
The movie that was
Wow.
made.
They were like, what film can we make for Jimmy? And this was it. It is fantastic. It's everything it just described it. These kids in school, zombie things break out, songs break out, and it's funny. The music is really catchy. And it's British, very British, so super fun. There is a short of it on that. It started out as a YouTube short, and then became its a whole film as well. I finally saw, I love me, obviously music and musicals. I'd never seen the Trolls film, the original one,
Oh yeah.
2016, and I wanted it. The new one had looked so good. I'm like, I gotta see the first one first, and it's really fun because it's like a jukebox musical, and it's got like freaking JT in it, just Timberlake and Anna Kendrick and all these great voices in it, and then the sequel, of course, just came out, but was really great as well. Um, I also caught up on a couple of the live action Disney films I'd never seen, Aladdin and Lion King. They were fine. They were fine. I liked them. Aladdin, I think, had the nice added song to it that Naomi Scott killed, Speechless, which everybody went on to cover. Um, yeah, I still like them both. I even still sort of teared up in the Lion King moment. I was like, oh, it didn't have the same impact as the original, but still, it was like, oh, these are silly and kind of fun. Um, and then I also mentioned that how I had been finally watching Studio Ghibli. I'd never seen any of them. And here's
Oh
something HBO
boy.
does have. HBO has them
do.
all except for
Yes, it does.
Fireflies because it's a copyright thing. It's on Hulu though. So I have 5 of them left to watch, including the new one that just was released, Earwig. And so I've got 5 or 6. I just watched Ponyo last night. So I'm watching them in order of release.
Mhm.
What's your
And
favorite so far?
I don't know. It's like I know it's on a Miyazaki one, but Fireflies really stuck with me. Grave of the
I haven't
Fireflies.
even
It's
seen
so
that.
Oh, it's
it's
I've
so
so
heard it's
yeah.
intense.
like
It's
It's
so
so dark.
it's one of the most
so
depressing
intense.
movies
Yeah, it's
ever
very
made.
depressing and dark.
Be prepared. Do
But I
not watch it
mean,
if you're in a bad mood.
yeah. But like the popular ones are popular for a reason. Totoro and House Moving Castle, they're fantastic.
Have you seen Spirited Away?
Yeah, Spirit
Oh,
Away is great. Spirit
I
Away is
love,
great.
I love.
Yeah,
Oh,
the last 5 or 6 I have left aren't the super popular ones. But again, I'm watching them in order of release, so I wanted to make sure because that's a weird thing I like to do, like watching things as they in the order that they've come out in. So I think the last, well, maybe the last 6 I have. So I just watched Ponyo. So I have Ariete, From Up on Poppy Hill, The Wind Rises, The Tale of the Princess Kaguya, When Marnie Was There, and then the new one that came out last year, Earwig and the Witch. So that's 6 left.
Nausicaa is my favorite. That's a
Oh
sentimental
yeah,
favorite.
yeah. I
mm,
thought it was great. Yeah,
I watched
again.
that as a kid
Hmm.
when it was under a
Yeah,
different name and edited poorly on HBO.
mm.
yeah.
And then they re-released it, and with scenes I'd never seen before at
Hmm.
25. Suddenly, I'd like new scenes in this movie that I love so much, and
Hmm.
it's wonderful. It's a sentimental, really sentimental favorite. That one.
Yeah, Spirited Away, of course, is
Yeah,
great.
that's my stepdaughter's favorite.
Yeah, yeah. And even like Porco Rosso was fun. I love Kiki's Delivery Service. That was great.
Kiki's
They're,
so
So
they're
good.
good.
so good.
It's all so good.
They're
It's like
just so
That's
so
such
much
a
good.
great.
sweet
Yeah.
little movie. The opposite of Grave of the Fireflies. If you need something that'll just
Mm,
like pick
Yeah.
you up and is light and sweet,
Yeah.
Kiki.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I've got a few more. Heidi, go on. I've got some more.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is one that I have been chipping away at, and so whenever The Mandalorian is on Friday mornings, I drop everything. Then I got into the habit of making myself a nice breakfast, like, pancakes, ricotta pancakes with blueberry sauce, or,
Oh,
a nice egg sandwich with bacon, and but a nice coffee. But anyway, and watching The Mandalorian. And then when The Mandalorian ended, I missed my Friday mornings before WandaVision. So I've been very slowly and catching up on Clone Wars.
Ah, yes.
Right.
oh,
And so I'm bummed that I didn't watch this, but as you can probably tell, watching TV is not really a huge thing that I do in my life. So which is bizarre, but there it is. Um but yeah, I'm really bummed I didn't watch this. And I know there's so much great stuff coming in the later seasons and the final season. I'm only up to season 2. But it's so good. It's so Star Wars. And I didn't realize what a great character Asuka Tano is. Asuka.
Oh,
And,
Ahsoka Tano,
Ashley
yeah.
Eckstein as her voice is
Yes,
so
she's great.
good. And all the cool stuff with Anakin and everyone. I mean, it's just all the Star Wars characters you get to see doing so many cool things and great
Intense. So
new
good.
characters and great animation. I mean, the animation is a little limited, but I like that. I like the fact that it's got this kind of stripped down Cartoon Network animation and still telling really great scripts.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
so good. It's so intense. It's so good. Yeah, and seeing all the characters and oh man, it's like it
yeah,
had such
I've
great
been
depth
meaning to
to the
catch up on
story.
that
Yeah.
yeah.
so much. I saw like the actual like not the CGI animation, but the earlier one that was like 6
Mhm.
episodes or
Yeah.
something, and it
Mhm.
was Gennady Tartakovsky, I think
Oh,
did
Yeah,
well,
it.
instead
yeah,
of yeah,
Gendy.
yeah,
Well, Gendy
Gendy. Yeah.
Tartakovsky and
Gendy
Gendy
Tartakovsky.
Tartakovsky, and they have just brought that one, the original
Mhm.
Clone Wars, back to.
I was
Uh,
obsessed with that.
oh
Yeah,
my
it's really
God!
good.
Well, that one is like, that came out while the prequels were coming out,
Yes.
Mhm.
so it's contemporaneous with that. And the prequels were so galvanizing, and it's kind of funny because now they're accepted, and
I
you know
never didn't accept them.
yes, well,
Oh,
I
I
like them.
Jimmy,
I like
yes,
them.
playing
well,
against
That's
type.
yeah, well,
right. I like them.
before social media, people would gather in person to discuss things in heated
What?
and at diners.
Remember that?
I don't know
Yeah,
what you're talking
just
about.
like
I understand.
Mystery Men, as we noted in Mystery Men. Edie,
Which just came on Netflix, by the way. I noticed. I
oh,
was flipping through. I was like, "Oh, now it's on
yeah, of
Netflix."
course, but well, they probably saw that we had talked about it, and
Sure, fair enough. Sure.
it's funny if you rewatch Mystery Man, it's like all they do is sit around in diners. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what we did in
I
the
gotta
90s.
rewatch that. I actually saw
Yeah,
that at a screening, an early screening, test screening
yeah,
of it.
you should
I
rewatch
should
it.
rewatch it.
There's definitely some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
And of course the cast. But anyway, the Clone Wars came out, and this is the time when I watched a lot more TV. It was before social media, obviously, and I had worked with Gendy on Dexter's Laboratory Comics. And like, boy, did I, he was very particular.
I bet.
But oh my God, what a talented
Hmm.
genius he is.
Primal is so good. His new one is so good.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I just remember coming home and watching these Clone Wars shorts on Cartoon Network. It's like Adult Swim, and they was really surreal. Coming out
I
maybe
feel
after a
like
night of drinking and watching Clone Wars. Wow.
I feel like they were kind of like proto Mandalorian a little bit.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Those I feel like what's successful about Mandalorian is what was successful about those. And they were, I mean, I did not like the prequels. I'm sorry, Jimmy. I was there for all of them though. I was there opening day for
Same.
every
Hmm.
single one. I
Yeah.
had my hair up in the buns. I had the whole
Oh yeah,
thing going on.
yeah.
But you know, I mean,
I
I
had a
enjoyed
lot
the
of
ride.
problems with it. Yes, I like
I
being back
enjoyed
in
the
that
ride.
world. I like being back in that world. I had some issues with, especially with the second one,
Right.
the little love
But
story thing. I'm like, ugh. But yeah.
but what I will say is that those I felt like when I saw those shorts, I thought this is what we need from Star Wars. Like this is what I want to see.
Yeah.
If we're going to do more
Mm.
stories in this universe, this is the tone that I want.
Mhm.
And I feel like we finally got that with Mandalorian. So
Yeah,
but I've heard that the Clone Wars that you're watching now, Heidi, the CGI
Ooh,
stuff is
so
excellent.
good.
Everyone's been telling me for years to watch it, and
So
I haven't,
good.
and I got to do that.
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
I will say the thing I think people really appreciate about the prequels now is that as awkward and problematic as storyteller as he is, George Lucas had a whole story worked out for all 3 movies ahead of time. He had a story he was
Mhm.
telling, and he took all three movies to tell it. Whereas with the new trilogy, it's like, oh, we'll let a whole new filmmaker make up the story because and it sucked. That was really, I think the prequels at least have unity of story. And it's the story, you can have a problem with it, and obviously Attack of the Clones is a horrible movie, but
Right. But if you watch it with the eye of that fan theory that Jar Jar is actually a Sith, you're
yes,
gonna love it because it's
yeah,
like, do
yeah.
you know that theory, Edie? It's great.
No, but
Look it up.
okay.
Like it's brilliant. That the theory that supposedly the rumor was the original idea was he was gonna be the Phantom Menace.
Hmm.
Jar Jar was in
Yes.
that, but then the kids loved him so much
Wow.
apparently, so they couldn't make him the vet. George had to play because you watch all the scenes how he bumbles through stuff, never seems to get shot in a giant war battle scene. Always sort of
Yeah.
flips around. He has all these great flipping, flying sort of power type things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it's like it's really interesting to watch that. Like, oh, he could have been the Phantom Menace. Maybe that'd have been an interesting thing. Like,
Excuse me.
but like he changed his voice. He stops talking that way, and he
Yeah.
becomes a fan. Where he doesn't talk that way. Where he's instead of the Misa, whatever, he's like
Mm.
all of a
I
sudden
would
this
have been
dark
into
voice comes
that.
in. Yeah,
They should have just done it.
I am Darth Jar Jar.
Yeah,
Great.
whatever. Kids need to grow up sometime. Why not help
Exactly.
them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got another Edie? What do you got?
Yeah. So let's see. What do I got? Oh yeah. So two movies that I have been wanting to see for years. That I hadn't seen that I just caught up on. The second one of these was Hereditary and Midsummer.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I've heard of
So
these.
So
same
Cast.
I still haven't seen those,
director.
so I'm gonna turn off my.
Uh, I'm not. No, Heidi, I promise I won't spoil you. I don't do that. I'm very anti-spoiler, like to a kind of like OCD degree.
Mhm.
But it's Ari Aster as the director writer. Hereditary is focuses on a family. They're both horror movies, but atypical ones. And Toni Collette is in Hereditary.
Mhm.
And Midsummer is obviously Florence Pugh, who you mentioned
Yeah.
before, Jimmy. They are really, really intense and really, really good.
Yeah.
Hereditary really messed me up in certain places. It definitely made me feel very unsettled and freaked out. The ending wasn't as successful for me as the ending was in Midsummer. Midsummer, my God, what a movie that is. Just don't let anyone tell you anything. Just like watch it.
Mhm.
It's great. The performances are great. Florence Pugh is incredible.
Love her.
There's definitely some kind of content warning-y stuff on either of those. So like if you have a friend, if you're the kind of person that sometimes certain issues come up, I got warned on the content in the beginning of Midsummer. I'm not going to say it here because not everyone's me, but find a friend who's seen it and knows your buttons and ask them if you should be warned, because I was glad I was warned about something that comes up in Midsummer, and I still
Okay.
felt really messed up after
All right.
after the beginning, but they are horrifying, but in a really cool new way. And the visuals in both of these movies, especially Midsummer, is like just
Excellent.
amazing. I mean, the way they're
All right.
shot, it's iconic. It's like instantly iconic, Midsummer.
All right. Well, in a lot of these films, it took the lockdown for me to watch, but also unfortunately, sometimes certain things that happen in the real world, it takes me to watch something I should have seen. So a few of these, obviously during last year with everything happening with Black Lives Matter, everything, I was like, man, there's so much, and people are pushing obviously black content, and I was like, man, I need to watch a lot. I can't believe I haven't seen this, and there's so much I have seen of it, but I haven't. So I finally caught up and I watched Selma, incredible Ava DuVernay directed film about the Selma March. Martin Luther King. If Bill Street Could Talk from 2018, written and directed by Barry Jenkins, Regina King, Coleman Domingo, Kiki Lane, based on the James Baldwin novel the same name, where a young woman seeks to prove the innocence of her wrongly charged lover. Black Klansman, Spike Lee's 2018 film based on the true story. John David Washington, Adam Driver, incredible.
Great.
Get On Up, the late great Chadwick Boseman. Uh, Amazing performance there. Really, really good stuff. Still catching up on a lot of stuff. But yeah, those are, if you haven't seen those, definitely get on that for sure.
Yeah, I definitely need to watch more of these movies.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I mean, all of these, but those in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of Spike Lee's older movies,
Oh, I'm a big
his
Spike.
all
Yeah.
his old classic movies, yeah, and which
The
are
Five Bloods was great. That was
yeah. I
amazing. Yeah, I
mean,
loved it. Yeah.
he's he's a great filmmaker, obviously, even for those early ones that are pretty awkward, but
Do the right thing. Still love.
So
Still love.
good.
Do
it's
the right
still
thing.
so important today.
So
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Any other ones, guys? What do you think? You all good?
So things that I'm looking. I actually I think this might be my list. I
I have
just
one last one, but go ahead. Yeah, if you
okay.
have any, you guys, any other ones, I do have one last one to close it out. But if you
Yeah,
guys
Okay.
have
I
one
have
more, go
a
ahead.
couple. So yeah, real quick. Something that I hadn't watched any of and then I binged all by myself and loved was Search Party.
Oh, I
The
keep hearing
TV
about this.
series,
Yeah, yeah, I
really
keep hearing.
good.
Okay.
How do we say her name? Alia Shawkat,
Yeah,
from
yeah, I think
Arrested
it's
Development,
yeah.
stars in it.
Mhm.
Um, she's amazing. The two other people whose names I'm forgetting that are the main characters in this with her are also incredible. Actually, there are three others. They're all great. A great Parker Posey cameo in it. She's always so fantastic. But this is a great one. It's weird though. It's hard to like
That's what I
encapsulate
hear.
it.
Yeah.
Basically, if you like me are basic and like true
Basic.
crime, I in some ways I'm very much a basic white girl, and one of those ways is that I'm obsessed with true crime stuff.
All right.
I'm not saying those are the only people who are into true crime, but it
But it's
definitely pushes the
definitely
genre forward.
It's the only people
Um,
I know that are into it.
right? So basically, Search Party kind of takes that to an interesting place and kind of explores. It's funny, but it's a dark comedy, and it gets really intense in a lot of places. And it sort of explores like people who get involved and in these kind of cases, overly involved and overly obsessed with them, and where that can lead them, and sort of the darkness inside all of us and the compromises we make. And it's really, I mean, and most of it's just really funny. It's a great send up of kind of like traditional millennial hipster culture as well. Doesn't take itself too seriously. It's great.
Nice.
And the other, that's on HBO Max. And the other thing that I watched with my mom and husband early on is the 7 Up series, which is a British documentary series,
Yeah.
which is really intense. You can get it on BritBox. They have all of it. Michael Apted, the director, famous director, he just died this past year. So I don't know that there'll be any more, or maybe they'll do something kind of reunion-y, but it got from basically every 7 years, they filmed a group of British school children and interviewed them. So it's kind of very early reality TV in that it's interviewing people talking about their lives from in 7-year blocks. So there's 7 Up, then there's 14 Up, then I can't math, 21 Up, 28
28
and
yeah.
on and so on. And you watch these folks grow up, and they tried to get people from different classes. So you have sort of like the British like upper class, and then you have like the working blue collar class kids and how their lives turn out. And it is fascinating to watch it unfold. Really great series.
Excellent.
Oh, I
Yeah.
have one that I rewatched. I had seen it before, and I had rewatched it, and I think this is a perfect Christmas movie, or Thanksgiving movie, maybe. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Oh. Wait, aren't there like 2 of those out now?
Well,
Or which one?
so I watched the Daniel Craig, Skipper Mara.
Rooney Mara.
Rooney Mara, David Fincher version. And, they released this movie at Thanksgiving, and for some reason it wasn't a big hit. It's only about, torture and incest and, murder, all these wonderful things. And, dead cats. But, that movie is so well made. I'll tell you, it is so
Haven't seen it, but all right. Yeah.
made.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
I
also
read all those books too.
right. Oh yeah, me
back in
too.
the day,
Yeah, I'm a big Girl with fan. And also that movie is like a IKEA porn. It's like, oh, you could live in this cabin, and it's like, oh, this cabin with high ceilings and a beautiful majestic windows everywhere, and linens. I'm like, yes, I'll live in your crappy little cabin. And it's funny because I watched the the Scandinavian, the original Swedish version. Boy, it is not. It is a crappy cabin in that one. Everything is way scaled down, but it wasn't a success. And I think if they'd gone on to make the trilogy, I would have watched all of them. I really enjoyed that movie. It's a real winter movie. That was a real snuggle in and watch this movie. And Stellan Skarsgård. I always love him.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, staying on the winter theme, the Christmas theme, I could not have a Christmas film.
Yes.
It's something I think Heidi likes as well. Only came out in 2019, Last Christmas. Didn't do very well in the theaters. It was co-written by Emma Thompson, based on the George Michael song, and stars Emilia Clarke, Mother of Dragons, Henry Golden, Michelle Yeoh, Emma Thompson is also in it. But it's this is what seems at first like, just a sort of heartwarming little fun Christmas film, gets a little serious twist at the end. You're like, oh man, oh well, I'm not gonna give it away, but it's like, wow. And but it's cute and charming. They're great together, Amelia and Henry. Really fun. I mean, watching Michelle Yeoh again, another one I can watch do anything. And Emma Thompson is hilarious in it, as the mom, and it's like, but yeah, it got some mixed reviews on there, but I really enjoy it. I think it's one of those things Heidi say. I think down the road it's gonna become sort of a Christmas tradition.
I think so too, and I think that unfortunately Emilia Clarke had she's really gotten so much negative publicity because Game of Thrones, and then Solo, and like everybody just
and Solo was good. I like
I know, but time heals all bad bad reviews, I guess, but I think it's charming, and everyone, and it's just a cute. I just don't understand why everybody hated this movie so much. It's a freaking cute Christmas story.
And also, if you know Emilia Clarke's story, she's also had some major medical issues in her life.
She has.
She's almost died, several times. So it's like, man.
Yeah, film Twitter really came for that movie early.
Right?
Yeah, it really did. Yeah.
I think it's because they figured out the twist from the trailer, and then people were like, so is it really going to be this? And then they kind of just like went for its throat.
Yeah. I mean, it is based on a little twist, and that if you figure it out ahead of time does make it a little, but once you know it, it's warm and cuddly like a sweater. Is what you want. And as long as you watch that instead of freaking Love Actually. Oof.
Which to this day it still has a weird sentimental quality to me watching it. But at the same time, I agree with everything from that Jezebel article years ago. You guys ever read that Jezebel? The article is brilliant where the woman writes what she breaks it down, and like every line, I'm like, oh my god, she's right about all of this.
I didn't read an article. The first time it was like, my ex-husband, it's like, oh, let's watch this movie, and I'm like, the more I watch it, the more I'm like,
there's so much wrong with it.
Listen, I loved it, but when it came out, but in my own defense, I was like 21 or something. So like I didn't know any better. And I was just, but
listen,
I definitely see the problems with it.
I still find charming bits of it, but yes, every time I watch, I do cringe a lot now when I watch. I'm like, oh man, yikes.
Bury it. That movie should be buried. All copies should be gathered, burned, buried.
But look at some of the success that's come out of it. Like the little girl Olivia Olson singing the song is a big singer voice. Was on Adventure Time. She's Marceline on Adventure Time, and she's done well. Yeah, a lot of them have done really well. But Last Christmas, I say check it out.
And, give it a chance. I think it'll become more accepted as people look for Christmas movies. I did watch a couple of Lifetime Christmas movies just to have on, and which I'd never seen, and I happened to hit the jackpot with one because it was I'm going to blank on her name, but she was on like Buffy, and then the star was, and then it was Jason Priestley. So it was like one of these classic Lifetime holiday movies with stars of our youth on it, and misunderstandings and romance, and like I watched one, I've done it, but okay. But once you're done with those, Last Christmas, yes.
Right on. All right, yeah. I started keeping a list like when lockdown happened of things I've watched, and I even started like putting up I started an album which I haven't neglected over months.
I'm gonna do that. I got a little bookie.
Oh no, I have a digital list in my email. I've kept that. So every time I watch something new, I put it on the list. Wow. But yeah, it started with Shazam was the first one. I think Detective Pikachu and Ocho were the first 3 I watched. But there were
Oh,
several
well,
other
thanks,
things.
HBO Max.
There you go. Again, not a sponsor, never will be. But yeah, so many more I had on my list I didn't mention. It's just like great stuff like Yesterday I'd never seen was really fun. You
Oh,
know, X-Men Dark Phoenix was garbage, but you know, it was on the list. So many other things.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start catching up more. You guys
Yeah.
have inspired me. Except, you know what? Baseball season has just started, so
Yeah.
I have a lot. Anyway, after that, after baseball season in October.
Yeah, see, I don't have that. I just have K-pop season, which is year round. So, in all the variety shows, I'm constantly watching things. Yeah, awesome stuff, guys. We could certainly probably do this again 6
Yeah,
months down the road with 100 other new things we haven't seen.
right.
Oh, I finally saw this. Yeah, for sure. But you've both given me some things to definitely check out as well. So
Yeah, definitely. No,
awesome,
awesome.
awesome.
Likewise.
inspired.
All right, let's wrap this up and get out of here, guys.
Okay.
If I don't know do we have any idea what we're doing the rest of the month? What we're doing next week yet?
I know we don't. We
Teaser?
just, we
Okay.
burnt ourselves out on the epic first 3 months of the year where we did these, epic theme months, and it was
Yeah.
such a wonderful journey
Mhm.
that we'll figure it
We'll
out.
figure it out.
It'll be a movie, but you can vote. Everybody vote. Should we do Howard the Duck or
Oh
Yes.
my.
Yes.
Speed Racer? Howard the Duck or Speed Racer?
Oh, see, because I know I've never seen all of Speed Racer, and I don't remember anything about Howard the Duck. I feel like I really want to see Speed Racer
There you go.
because I
Oh.
Well, if
love
you ever do
love the
Howard the
cartoon.
Duck, call me because it's
All
one of
right,
my absolute
Okay.
favorite
All right.
movies.
all right.
I'm writing that down. It is a date because
All
we've
right.
got to revisit. I find
Right.
like revisiting these movies, and Speed Racer, you will have your pick because that now is such a cult movie where
It
people
is. I've never
uh
seen it, and
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
that people love
but
it.
yeah. I want to see
yes,
it.
the
Yeah.
ones who love it just love it. And you know what? I've only seen it all the way through once, but it
Mm.
was like one of the happiest. All right, so maybe one of
All
these.
right.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Sounds cool. All right, guys. Again, so thank you everybody for who tuned in live to check us out. You can always check it out here, but if you just want the audio version, it'll be on my podcast, Comic News Insider,
And
probably
don't
by
forget to
tomorrow.
subscribe.
Yes. Like, subscribe here on this is the Comics Beat channel, but we cross over. She has a beat. I have Comic News Insider. We put them on both, so check it out. But once again, guys, if you want to get a hold of us, you get a hold of me. I'm Jimmy Aquino. It's at Jimmy Aquino, JIMMYAQUINO on all the social medias. Comic News Insider, comicnewsinsider.com, the weekly podcast covering comics, TV, film, and pop culture.
And I'm Heidi McDonald, again of the Beat, comicsbeat.com, where we cover all about comic books and also all about nerd culture and movies and Falcon the Winter Soldier and yada, 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 yada. And you can find me on all social media at ComicsAce, COMIXACE.
And I'm Edie Nugent, and you can find me on Twitter at Edie Helena. Also, I've been doing a podcast with my off-screen husband, Simon Fraser, the Great Dante Read Through, where we are reading through all of the issues of Nikolai Dante, The Adventures of Nikolai Dante, which he co-created with Robbie Morrison for 2000 AD. We are up to episode 8. And it is a lot of fun. You can find the Great Dante Read Through on literally every single podcast platform, Apple Podcast, Spotify, everywhere.
Excellent.
And we are on Twitter at PodTGDR.
Excellent.
Nice.
And we will revisit Edie's list in 10 years when she gets to Z. And
yes,
the DVD list. She
Yeah,
gets to
right.
like it.
When I'm on my deathbed, I'll let you know how Z is.
Yeah,
nice,
like
nice.
some zombie movies, zombies.
Right.
Like,
World War Z, no.
Or
Zathura?
just Z by Costa Gavras.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Excellent.
right.
All right.
Thanks, you
Thanks so much, you
guys. Until
guys.